I'm joined by Ihssane Leckey, a former Wall Street regulator in the National Federal Reserve System and at the Federal Reserve Bank of Philadelphia. She's also a former public policy associate for Philabundance, a Philadelphia food bank. Ihssane Leckey, thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
So before we get talking, I see you out in nature. I think this is the first candidate actually talking to us from the field. You are the first candidate. Where are you right now?
I am right now in Fall River. I came to see a few farmers markets in the area. We talk to people who come to get some food with food stamps. Those are the folks who are the most vulnerable in our community right now. It's important to hear their voices and deliver our message to them and hopefully earn their trust and their vote.
Let me ask you at the outset about your political self-definition. You are a self-described Democratic Socialist. I'm wondering what that term means to you and what people should think of when they hear you use it.
You know, I grew up in a family where my father was a public school teacher and my mom was a farmer. And we lived paycheck to paycheck. We know what the pink slips were. But there is something that is really dear to my heart in the value system that I was brought on, in that every success that we have in our life, we don't hoard it, we share it. And we work to end the unnecessary suffering of the people. It is, it's impossible to get our heads around the idea that we live in the richest, most powerful country in the history of the world, yet we have people who are homeless, we have people who are poor, we have people who are treated poorly by their own employers, we have immigrants who are not even accounted for when we talk about COVID relief, for example. And so we live in a society where wealth has been hoarded at the top. And when we talk about the top, we're talking about the ultra rich, the same ultra rich that Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders talk about, people like Jeff Bezos who do not pay their fair share in taxes. And so we are set in a way where we're just fighting against each other as, you know, the middle class, as people who are poor, and looking at how we're going to go into austerity instead of looking at how we can actually get rid of this giant concentration of wealth at the top, that truly what it does is risk the lives and the livelihood of all the other people. That's why I fight for Medicare for all, for the Green New Deal, and for getting corruption out of Washington and getting Wall Street out of our Congress.
I should probably mention, thank you for that, I should probably mention that, at least from the outside, it seems your worldview has been informed in part by growing up in Morocco and then coming here as a young woman from relatively humble circumstances as someone who is brand new to the United States. Is that a fair way to talk about your background and how it shapes your worldview now?
Absolutely, it did. You know, when you look at our beautiful country from the outside, I grew up as a survivor of sexual abuse, and I always dreamed of a country that will provide me safety and security, where I would have the basic necessities to live. I would have housing, I would have healthcare, I would have a great education, clean air and water, and a good paying job, and where my rights as a human being are protected by our legal system, and where we have a government that works for the people. That's what I dreamed of, is the basic necessities to live. But when I came here, I saw a different reality. When I was mopping the floors at the restaurants and earning poverty wages and facing sexual harassment and wage theft, I knew that that condition was not just unique to me as an undocumented worker at the time. It was the situation for millions of Americans who are struggling every single day to put food on the table for their children. And because, and I say this not jokingly, immigrants do get the job done, I'm here to get the job done. I have stood up to the biggest banks on Wall Street, and I will continue to stand up to corporations and to the corrupt interests that stand between us and passing these policies of Medicare for all and the Green New Deal.
Let me ask you, you obviously have had a great deal of professional success, personal success. I was looking at your campaign website a little before we chatted, and you make a point of saying this campaign is not funded by PACs. It's not funded by special interest money. It is powered by those of you who support me. But tell me if I'm wrong here. My understanding is you have been able to loan your own campaign a large amount of money, I believe around $800,000, right? Which is, on the one hand, a testament to all the success that you've enjoyed starting from modest means, but it's also the sort of investment that a lot of people might have a hard time imagining making. Is it fair to sort of push at other candidates in the race for taking PAC money when they might not have the kind of personal wealth that you now enjoy?
It's absolutely fair to push against any form of corruption, including taking money from corporate PACs and corporate lobbyists, including taking money from pharmaceutical and executives and from fossil fuel executives and police unions, and including taking money from big developers. We know that that is legalized corruption. You know, as a Wall Street regulator, I was under so much scrutiny by the Federal Reserve System that I could not even have a mortgage with the banks that I regulate. That level of special interest needs to end when it comes to our federal government. But there is a really important issue that you bring up here, is campaign finance. And let's talk about that. As a woman of color, if you approached me when I was mopping those floors in the restaurant earning poverty wages and said, Ihssane, you are disgusted at our system and how it is embezzling from the people. You want to fight back? Let's get you in Congress. So do you think that during a pandemic, I would be able to actually raise the funds necessary to battle against those people who are taking corporate PAC and lobbyist money and super PAC money? Of course not. That's why we see a government where over 78% of our representatives are wealthy white men.
There's two quick questions I want to throw at you as we wrap up. I've been asking them of your rivals as well. How would you grade Joe Kennedy's performance representing the 4th?
You know, when I ran against Joe Kennedy, there was a reason why. And that reason was because we had lack of leadership when it came to environmental justice, when it came to racial justice, when it came to healthcare justice. I organized 3 full months of phone banks to call on our constituents in District 4 of Massachusetts to call Joe Kennedy and say, please sign on Medicare for all. Please sign on the Green New Deal. We need a different type of leadership in this district and in our country. We need bold progressives who do not take money from the same banks that I was regulating.
And my last question for you, promise, you have about 10 seconds to answer. If you couldn't vote for yourself in this election and had to vote for one of your rivals, who would it be?
If I couldn't vote for myself, well, I'm going to vote for myself. And I'm asking everybody in District 4 to not vote for me. Vote for Ihssane is a vote for justice for all. It's a vote for the people. It's a vote for who we are as Democrats, who we are as a country, who we are against Trump and against fascism. It's a vote for our future. So I'm asking everybody to vote for me on September 1st and during this early voting. And I hope to have earned your trust, and I cannot wait to fight for you in Congress and beyond.
All right, Ihssane Leckey, we got to leave it there. Thank you for making time to talk from Fall River. Enjoy it down there, and good luck down the campaign home stretch.
Thank you for having me. Bye-bye.